All right, guys, this is day 2
Yep.
on Alcatraz with your book signing. We just did a really interesting tour of the catacombs and the dungeons underneath there, which I don't think a lot of people have seen that. I know Cindy didn't like that.
No, I thought it was cool. It was a really good tour. I had no idea that stuff was down there, but it was creepy.
Well, I was thinking, people live there. How do you live
Yeah.
in a place that's just dank, no light, no windows,
I don't know.
and it's being lit with oil lamps? That's their light source.
Yeah, it wasn't
And it was already hard. It was already musty. And can you imagine just breathing all that burnt oil?
Yeah,
I can see why people had respiratory issues on the island.
exactly.
No
Exactly.
ventilation at all, none.
Yeah, and when we came in on the ferry, I guess the people operating the ferry said that this was all the ferries have been booked solid. So it looks like you guys are going to have a busy day today.
Yeah, it's
It's
sold
gonna
out.
be a very busy
sold out
day.
day. Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what was kind of cool is I didn't know some of the history that we learned when we went into the catacombs.
I know.
It was unbelievable. I had never personally been down in there. I'd kind of heard about the dungeon,
Yeah.
But, and to know that they actually kept people in there.
I know. In
And
the
then
dark.
when they turned the lights off,
That was really
almost-
scary.
Oh, that was
Well,
weird.
yeah.
Yeah, they stuck us in one of the holes, basically.
Yep.
And they said, we're going to leave you in here for about 28 seconds with no lights on, just to give you a feel of, and he was like, to meditate of what it would have been like if you were locked in here, basically shackled to the bars, because he said that they were literally shackled with their arms over their head. So it was a little crazy.
It was really interesting, the type of crimes that put you in there.
I know.
Like, just for not signing up-
signing your draft card.
Not signing your draft card when you're a Mennonite. That's
Hutterite.
Hutterite?
No, it was Hutterites, it was Mennonites,
Yeah.
kind of like Mennonites. They're kind of like
Yeah. Kind of
Amish,
Yeah, same.
very
kinda
farmers, who,
peace-loving people.
yes, Puritans. That
Yeah, for very small infractions.
Very
that
small-
you got a very severe punishment, and you're there for a couple of weeks. in
And
the
you're
dark.
shackled in the dark. It's horrifying.
yeah, but the draft was bigger
Well, I
than.
want you to be on the podcast. Come over here and ask you a question. Okay. I'm trying to wrangle people over here.
I know.
They'll come. They'll come.
They'll come. They'll come.
That's right. If you have the podcast,
You have
they
the
will
one
come.
and only chance to ask questions.
Yeah, we had a lot of people asking questions yesterday.
Yes.
A lot of interesting stuff and
Well,
variety of
the
people.
most popular question we got again and again was, "Do you think they made it, or did they
Exactly.
make it?"
Do you have any proof? Do you have any proof that they made it?
Where's the DNA?
That
Where's
is
the
the most
DNA?
popular question.
It really
Do
is.
you have any DNA?
We have plenty.
Everybody's an investigator.
But there are so many other things that people have solved crimes with no DNA.
Oh,
I
absolutely.
mean, can prove things, and you have no DNA that's ever involved in it. And when you look at all of the evidence that we bring forward, the photographs, the testimony, all the different things that are in the FBI files, you would think that would be enough for people to say, yeah, they actually did make it. And still, to this day, it's like, oh, now you got to have DNA.
Yeah, like
Where's that's
your
photograph, a
fingerprint?
photograph of them in Brazil. Actually, we have 3. Because there's
Yes.
that one we haven't shown yet,
Yes.
the full length one.
Yes.
Him standing in front of the house, John, when he was it's got had to have been like in the mid
Well, so
2000s.
elderly at this time.
Yeah. You would actually, so the photograph that we have of him that other people have seen, you can tell he's a lot thinner in that one, but the other photograph that we have must have been taken a lot earlier because he's not as thin there as he was in one photograph. So
Yeah.
we've actually have 3 photos of him now.
Yeah, we haven't sent that one to Michael though,
Not yet.
not yet. So.
No, and 2, no one knows but us 4 here where he's buried at.
Ooh, yeah, it's far. We did find.
Yeah, we have the death certificate.
We know where he's buried at. We know
We're not
we have the
telling
death
anybody.
certificate.
We're not telling you people.
We do not.
We don't want anybody
share
going
that.
there.
Not yet.
We know where he used to live.
Yeah, well, we're not telling anybody till we go there.
We're going to be the first ones in that house.
Exactly.
Now they're talking about fingerprints and DNA. That house is going to be full of it.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, the fact, and we talked about this, that the fact that house has not been lived in or no one has touched it for since 2016, 9 years.
So he, That's a good question as far as when his wife died. We know that he died in 2016. We have a death certificate.
Right.
No one has lived in that house since he died. So it's basically been shut up, and very nice place where he lived. So anything in that house, fingerprints, like I said, DNA, things he might have touched are still preserved
Documents,
today.
photos.
Photos,
Yeah.
whatever, handwriting. So we have a treasure trove of items that we can dig into once.
What I hope is, I hope we found like a hairbrush,
Oh my gosh, yes.
because then you can get some really good DNA, I think.
Or cigarette butts.
Yeah, because he
Cigarette
actually still
butts.
smoked. I mean, he was
I mean,
a
those are
heavy
the
smoker.
cigarettes. She told me the cigarettes butts are the best for DNA.
Yeah, I could see that.
We'll take whatever we can get.
Yeah.
Well, and maybe, if he touched a glass that he never washed, his fingerprints are still on. And we do have fingerprints from the FBI files.
Yeah,
So now you have something to compare against.
yeah. Hold on for a second.
Yeah, but all that's secret information for now.
Would y'all like to be on a podcast? Come on over here. You can ask a question.
Ask us anything you
Come
want.
here. Come here. Yeah, come over and be a part of it.
So, where are you from?
Australia. Oh,
Yeah,
God.
We
come
had
on
a
closer
long
to getting the
way.
mic here. He's staying right here.
So all the way from Australia?
Yeah, from Melbourne. Yeah.
How long have you been here?
I've been here. I was here for a few weeks working in Canada, and then traveling for a few weeks with some friends down the west coast. So yeah.
So you're here on vacation.
Yeah.
So
On
what brought you
vacation,
to the West Coast? What was it about California that?
Oh, I mean, there's so much to see in the US. So we were umming for a long time about where to go, and I think so much to see on that west coast. Being Australian, I think we love our outdoors and national parks and that sort of thing.
Oh, yeah,
so
we've got a lot of those.
Good time, yeah. So only here for a couple of days in San Fran, but wanted to see this place and
So
see the
now,
history here.
in Australia, was it pretty popular to know about the escape from Alcatraz?
I think people know about Alcatraz, obviously, being such part of popular culture, but I don't think people really know the history much. I don't think people would know about, in detail about the escapes and that sort of thing. But I think people that have come over to San Fran, the US, often kind of come here and, I recommend it and that sort of thing
Right,
to
it's one
try
of
and
the
learn
places
about
to
that
go to
history.
if you're-
Yeah, we've got a former prison in Melbourne, which is quite infamous, and they do similar sort of tours, and some of our sort of notorious people were housed there when it was running. So I think that's a popular thing in Melbourne too. So there's a bit being a country that from colonisation, convicts went there and that sort of thing. So it's
Absolutely.
big part of our history, and we
Yes.
have a lot of incarceration there as well. So yeah. There's a bit of interest in the history. Yeah.
So what kinds of things did you learn here that were sort of surprising to you?
Yeah, I mean, I think I was surprised it was only, run as prison for about 30 years. I think you picture it as going for so much longer. Obviously, the conditions are pretty notorious. I think it's pretty awful to imagine what it was like going through that, and I thought it was interesting to me how close it really is to the rest of the city, and hearing some of the reflections on the audio tour. That when the wind was in the right direction, they could hear the laughing and music from the yacht club. That'd be pretty tough, I think, to hear that. On the
not only
weekends.
that, but from the exercise yard, you can see the city.
Yeah, sure.
It's right there.
Yeah,
and
so
it
you can see what you're missing
it
out
seems
on.
like you can be there
That
in
had
5
to be
minutes.
torture.
Of course.
You're
Yeah,
sitting on those
100%.
steps and you're looking across and you go,
Yeah,
gosh, I'm going to be here for another 30 years and I can never have a part of that.
absolutely. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. And and of course, reading some of the stories about what people were in prison for, is pretty unbelievable. $16 from the convenience store, or being a conscientious objector.
$19,000 from a bank robbery.
Yeah.
Although
So
the thing for
spectrum.
Alcatraz was no one was actually sent here. If you got convicted of
Yeah.
something, you were sent to another federal prison.
Yeah, okay.
And if you tried to escape, or you were just a difficult inmate and you were causing problems,
Yeah.
then they would send you here. So it was
Yeah.
something that you did that got you here.
Sure. Okay. Yeah.
So
right,
you might,
yeah.
your initial infraction might have been minor, but
Yeah.
you upped it somehow.
Yeah, sure. And this is probably the place you don't want to be sent. Yeah.
Nope, it was
yeah.
definitely a punishment.
Yeah, absolutely.
So what do you think? Do you think anybody ever successfully escaped?
Well, I was really interested to hearing the story. Yeah. So I was reading some of the ones, and there were a few different escapes, maybe 2 or 3 where people were never found. Is that
There
right?
were some that they got pulled in because in the bay they have these down spots where the tide goes down, and we were talking to a former inmate.
Yep.
And actually, we were listening to a recording that he did, and he actually witnessed it. They're paddling along the edge of the water, and
You can see that.
and
Wow.
they disappeared.
Yeah.
Never came up again.
Wow. And what's the average temperature in the bay here?
Well,
Pretty.
we don't
pretty
do
freezing?
Celsius. Is it 13 Celsius?
Like 55.
Well, it's
Yeah,
it's
sure.
it's
Yeah,
in the mid
55,
50s Fahrenheit.
Yeah. Sure, it's about 13,
So
I
it's,
think.
it's,
Sure.
it's chilly water. And
That's
sometimes
cold.
it gets into the 40s when it gets really cold.
Yeah.
So, but actually, there was another inmate here at the time by the name of Whitey Bulger, who was a very famous American mobster. And he was incarcerated at the same time. He was friends with John and Clarence Anglin and Frank Morris. And he was a scuba diver before he went to prison. And so he taught them how to get acclimated to the cold water.
Wow.
Because they had hot showers here. I don't know if they talked about that on the tour.
Wow,
So
right.
you had a hot shower to keep you
Yep.
not used to the cold water. So what he told them to do was in their cells, they had only cold water. So they would dampen towels and they lay on the cement floor and lay it on them to
lay it
get
on
used to
them.
the cold.
Wow. Oh, that's
So
incredible.
he was getting their
Yep.
bodies,
Sure.
prepared for the escape.
Of course. And I think, being able to see it, they probably would have it, maybe underestimate the journey. I can swim that, that's not that far. And then
Well,
getting
they didn't
into
actually
the...
swim.
Yeah.
No, they never hardly
Use
even
a
got in
raft
the
or-
water.
yeah.
I mean, they built the raft.
Yeah,
right?
sure.
And then they used a prison boat to ferry them halfway in between
Okay.
here and Marina Green.
Yep.
And had a boat waiting for them. So they probably got wet trying to get from the raft into the boat, but that's probably about it.
Wow. And was there any sort of signs or communication until that photo
Yes.
in Brazil? Was there
Yes.
much in between that sightings or... Yeah, okay.
Yeah, I mean, my family pretty much kept in contact with them.
Wow.
Once they got to Brazil,
Yep.
we had one of their brothers, that kept in contact with them all the time. And then
Wow.
the friend who flew them down kept in contact with them. And I mean, all the way up until he passed away in 2000 and I think it was 2009 he passed away.
Okay. Yeah.
But yeah, but the whole family, we always knew where they were at.
Yeah.
But it was something that we never shared because we feared one of them getting captured again.
Of
and brought
course.
Back. Although, going into Brazil, marrying, having children, they could never really kind of come back. But the threat was still there from
course.
the family members
Yeah.
that the FBI had started out saying, anything about anything, if you happen to even have we find out that you participated or knew something, you're going to prison too.
Wow.
So,
Yeah,
pretty much shut down
Yeah.
everything.
Yeah. But now you feel like you can
But
share
now,
that story,
they're all
obviously.
dead
and-
now.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
the only person that's alive in the Anglin family is my mom.
Yep.
So she's the only one, and she's not talking either.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh,
She's
great.
talking to you.
She'll talk to me. That's about
And you can share it with the rest of us. Oh, thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, nice to meet you.
Thank you.
Nice to meet you.
Anybody have any questions?
Anybody else? Any
Ask
questions?
us anything you
That was
want.
pretty good. It was pretty interesting.
That was
We
very
got somebody from
interesting, yeah.
Australia, a prison colony.
Well, you could think the whole island was a prison.
Was it
island
basically?
at
It was
one time.
Alcatraz. It was
Yeah,
an
it was
Alcatraz continent.
And you're
It's
not coming
where
back to
people
England.
went to.
You're so far away, you're not coming back.
No,
No, you're not escaping from that one.
no. And it's like, and the thing about Australia is that like 99% of it is all kind of desert and arid and uninhabitable.
Most of the people live on the coast.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. And it's huge. It's gigantic.
Oh,
But that was interesting. He had a lot of interesting questions.
He did. Yeah, he was. It's amazing how, like I said, keep saying, people from other countries still know about Alcatraz.
Yeah.
And we met a lady yesterday. She studied Alcatraz in school.
Yep.
So it's kind of crazy.
Yeah. Do you have any questions?
Oh no, I just choked up when you said Australia.
Oh, here we
Well,
go.
that gentleman
here
was
comes
from
somebody.
Australia.
Can I have that?
Absolutely. You want to be on the podcast? Ask a question?
No, thank you.
You have no questions whatsoever.
I'm sure.
Okay.
I'm just in awe of it all.
And what is your name?
It's Helen.
And this is for you?
Yes, it is. Yes.
Helen. Oh, well, you're a person by the name of Helen is actually in the book.
Oh.
Significant person.
Yeah,
Oh,
significant
okay.
person.
So who did you have here in Alcatraz?
So my two uncles, John
Okay.
and Clarence England, those are my mom's brothers.
Your mum's
And-
brothers?
Yeah, and they were here. They're the ones who escaped.
Right.
Right. They're the ones in the movie that with Clint Eastwood, when he plays Frank Morris. But yeah, they were actually here.
And you
Wow.
saw their cells, I'm sure.
Yes, yes, I did. Yes.
It looks like they just left.
Although, Ken, you tell me that they put the guitar in the wrong cell.
Yes, they did. If you look in there and you see the guitar that's in the one on the right, if you're looking at it, that's John's cell.
Right, okay.
Clarence was actually the one who played the guitar. So they actually,
We've
I
told
told
them
him, I said, would you move the guitar to the right cell?
And they haven't moved it
They haven't
yet.
done it.
They haven't. Oh, wow, that's
here, let me give
amazing.
you, and if you want to check out our podcast.
Oh, I love podcasts.
So our podcast, we go into some really deep dive detail of each of the chapters.
Okay.
Even more than what's in the book.
Right.
And then we bring on, believe it or not, we have several U.S. Marshals. One who actually was chasing them at one time. We have an FBI agent that we brought on. And we have a lot of other, some inmates, former inmates. We share some Whitey Bulger type information. We're friends with Whitey Bulger, which he shared a lot of information, which is in the book. And we actually show you a picture of them in the book in Brazil in 1975. That has been checked out by the U.S. Marshals, the FBI, and 5 independent facial recognition companies, all coming back with 99.7% match.
Wow.
So the name of the podcast is?
Partners in True Crime. But like if you just Google this, you'll see it.
It's called My Uncle's Escaped Alcatraz.
Yeah.
Great.
You have,
We
you have some
we've been doing
questions?
this for
Oh, we
about a
got.
year, so, yeah.
You are
All right.
more than welcome.
Thank
Glad
you.
you came.
Thank you.
All right, we got some more questions here.
So I see President Trump made a statement recently. He wanted
Oh, we love
Really?
that.
Which
We
one are
love
you
this
talking
question.
about?
just 2 weeks back. So
Yes.
So is it a possibility, like a remote possibility, like this could be reopened as a federal prison?
I would never say never with him, but I would say 99.7% not going to happen.
Yeah. 'Cause,
You probably have that little chance that it might.
I mean, we have brought out high-ranking members of the Bureau of Prisons out here, and they've had engineers, and they're doing studies and examinations and making reports, and they are going back to D.C., or they have gone back and filing whatever report and seeing the feasibility of that. But the problem, there are multiple problems with reopening as a prison. One of them being that when Alcatraz closed in 1963, the primary reason was it was far more expensive to house inmates here than all the other federal prisons. At the time, it was $3 a day for an inmate in 1963 dollars, and for Alcatraz, it was $10 a day. So it was more than 3 times the amount because everything has to be brought to the island. All the water, all the food, medicine, people, prisoners, guards, they all have to be ferried back and forth, just like, you visiting here. You can't just, there's no bridge, there's no other way to get here. And so it would be just as more expensive if they reopened it. Plus, it's a bird sanctuary, so you can't disturb the birds. This prison is a historical landmark. You can't tear it down. So, and there's hardly any places to build a new prison. It's a small island. And
With President Trump, you never know.
That's the reason why I say
it
99.7.
would be billions
Thank you.
of dollars.
Thank you.
Cost you.
Hey. Yes, absolutely.
You got a
Oh,
question?
thank you. My pet disappeared.
I feel like how can you buy like the products in the prison?
How can you buy
Like,
what?
The products like apa namanya? Apa namanya?
I mean, the stuff in the bookstore?
Necessities like have that.
Oh,
Or you have to buy that or
no, they would provide your basic necessities.
Oh, then you're talking about like your shaving stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, they
So
were-
they gave the prisoners certain things that every prisoner got, and they could, refresh their clothes if it got dirty or soiled, or if something got torn, so they could exchange clothes and get new clothes. They also had toiletry items that they
Shaving kits.
Shaving kits.
oh, okay.
Yeah,
so
they
it's
were
free?
Yeah, they
Like,
were provided.
Yeah, it
wow.
was free for them.
However, there were things that they could buy. They could buy
Yes.
cigarettes. They
Okay.
could buy
Candy.
and they
Christmas
can also,
cards.
They can also buy magazine subscriptions because Frank Morris, who's one of the escapees in the book, we have a like a piece of paper that he wrote down all the different magazines that he wanted to order that he could read in the cell, and it has the price of each one, and that the inmates. They worked on the island. There used to be an industries building here. Well, it's here, but it's closed down. And they had a lot of shops where they could work, like carpentry, and they made brooms
Earn
and other
money.
things.
Okay.
And they would earn money, and they keep it in an account. They didn't give them the cash. They just had an account, and they can deduct from the account the things that they were buying for their own personal needs.
And then you actually had family members, if they had family, could send them money,
The money.
and they would take that money and put it into their account, so you could build up, and then use it to spend on things.
Yeah, so you could buy some things, but their basic needs were maintained by the prison.
So who are we making this out to?
Sorry.
Who do you want to make it out to?
To Johanna, Yohana.
N.A. All right.
Yes, that's my name.
And where are you from?
Indonesia.
Indonesia.
Yeah, this
So,
is my first time in
so
the
are you here on
prison.
vacation?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice.
Okay. And why did you want to come to San Francisco?
And we use the same.
Oh, okay. All right. All right.
Actually, I just accompanying my mom. She's
Okay.
work here.
So what brought you here?
Um,
Sacramento University.
this is
California invite me.
You used to work here?
No, I'm a mayor of Semarang. Semarang City, Indonesia, Central Java.
Oh, so she was invited here.
Yes,
Oh,
I am
nice.
invited here to speak about woman. Woman support woman.
Oh, nice.
And that's here in San Francisco. Okay.
On Sacramento.
Oh, Sacramento.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
This is
Really
the
hope
last
you
day.
enjoy the book.
We
Oh,
want to.
and then you're flying back?
Yes,
Okay.
tonight.
Right,
Okay,
that's
well.
a good read on the way back.
Yeah, it's.
Well, those are his uncles who escaped.
Yes. Yeah.
It's very good to see you here.
Thank you
Okay.
so much.
Well, thank you.
Directly to see the author of the book.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
All right.
So did she say she was a mayor?
Yeah.
The mayor of Indonesia.
Indonesia. Wow. That is, I would have to say that's the first time I've ever met a mayor from another country.
Really?
Yeah.
Look at you, the mayor of Indonesia. I wonder if it's from
Kane
Jakarta.
Well, I don't
get
think
our
she's
book.
the mayor of Indonesia. I think she's
A mayor of a town.
Yeah,
Okay.
in Indonesia. Because
Well,
Indonesia
still.
is the country.
Right.
She came all the way over here to meet us and get this book.
Yes, absolutely. Yes. Our fame is that big.
That's very cool.
Well, again, it's just showing, people come to San Francisco and where do they want to go? You got to go to Alcatraz. It's one of the destination spots.
I mean, it's like as soon as you come over any one of the bridges, whether it's just sitting there in the bay.
Right.
So it's like you can't avoid it. So it's a little crazy. But
And two, it's, it seems like if you ever go into where the cell house is, the most popular location is definitely the 62 escape cells. I mean,
yeah.
you see a big, huge crowd of people around that escape. And, there are other people, famous people over here. Whitey Bulger,
Yeah.
B1, Mickey Cohen, Al
did they ever
Capone-
tell you?
Al
Did they ever
Capone.
tell you where Mickey and Whitey's cells were?
No.
We do have their cards. I don't have it with me. I could probably look it up and Google it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't have
And-
my flash drive, so if I had my flash drive, I can look it up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, it would be kind of interesting to go see hit their cells.
Well, yeah, there are only 4 cells that are dressed up. 2 of them, of course, John's and Clarence,
Yep.
and then you go a little further down, and you have Alan West and Frank Morris's. They're dressed up.
Yep.
The others are not. They're
No.
empty. So why are they dressing those ones up? Because those are the ones people want to see.
Listen, it's the main draw. I mean, the two things they think about when you think about Alcatraz, think about Al Capone was sent here, and you think about your uncles.
Yeah, it's one of it is the drawing place for this. So you could almost kind of say Alcatraz would not be what it is today if it had not been for what John and Clarence and Frank Morris did.
Yeah.
I mean, those 3 men pretty much set this place famous, from something that they did. I'm sure they didn't think as they were leaving Alcatraz and they're watching it as they're going away on the boat that, oh my gosh, we just made this place famous. But they actually
Exactly.
did.
Well, and then when you were talking yesterday about the screenwriter for the movie, he comes out here, he visits it because he wants to see the island,
Yep.
and then he gets the book and he thinks, this would make a great movie. He knew there was an audience for the story, and it's
Oh,
like,
yeah.
I'm going to be the first one to make a movie. Well, actually, he wasn't because there was movies made before, but this is the one that put it on the map with Clint Eastwood. That gave it legitimacy.
Yeah. It
But
did.
he knew that this was a story that would have a mass audience. And Hollywood said, yeah, we agree with you. And Clint said, yeah, I want to make that movie.
Yeah. And he made most of his movies here in San Francisco.
Yeah.
So it was like a natural
did.
fit for him.
Yeah.
It's like when we were walking around Chinatown and walking around the streets, that's all I can think of is like scenes from a Clint Eastwood movie. With the streets and everything like that. That and what we were talking about, the movie Bullet. The Steve McQueen movie. But,
I would,
Bullet,
I really wish though when they did the movie, and this is something that the Anglin family really kind of felt not like portrayed, but they Frank Morris had no family that they knew of at the time. So he had nothing to kind of like, oh, let me go talk to the family members and draw from what kind of person Frank really was so I can portray the character correctly. But the Anglin family was available. They could have gone to the Anglin family, even though the other two, actors were second place to Clint Eastwood. But they could have come and they could have asked, okay, tell me a little bit about, John and Clarence. Tell me about their background. Why did they get here? Tell me some. But they didn't do any of that. They just pretty much kind of wrote John and Clarence off into the background, and that's pretty much how it's being done even today. I was watching a show the other day, which one of my favorite shows, Aero America, and they were going over California. Of course, they fly over San Francisco and then Alcatraz, and whoever's narrating the show goes, "Oh yeah, and this is where the famous escape occurred with Frank Morris and two other inmates." It didn't even reference their names. Just two other inmates.
Yes, these tag-alongs.
Yeah, these little tag-alongs, and that's why. It just, we had to write this book to let the people know.
Set the record straight.
Set the record straight, about what really happened. So it's not like, oh my gosh, we want to make them famous. We want to tell the truth.
Exactly.
Right.
So
Exactamundo. So,
Well, my brother will be coming around here at some point.
get out.
Get to meet my brother
Okay, cool.
and his girlfriend.
I see people looking at the book, looking at the back of
like
it,
her.
going, yeah, I like
Yep.
it. Is it really true?
I know.
Yeah.
Yes, we are.
Would you like one?
Absolutely.
Oh, absolutely. Come on.
All right.
How would you like to be on a podcast?
I don't think he wants to.
You don't want to, okay.
We're not going to make you do
No,
it.
we won't make
No,
you do
we'll
it.
make you do it.
We can make you talk.
Well, here's one question. Why
We
do you
can
want
throw you in the hole if you don't talk.
Why do you want to buy the book?
Because I think Alcatraz is really interesting.
So what do you like about it? What did you find the most interesting when you went on the tour?
Do you think they made it?
The escape.
The escape. Do you believe they made it?
Probably.
Well, in the book, we're going to show you that they not only made it, we're going to show you a picture of them
Okay.
in 1975 in Brazil.
So you have John and Clarence. Ken is their nephew. So these are his uncles. This is his
those
family
are
story.
Those are my uncles.
Actually,
Yeah, actual uncles.
that's cool.
And there's a lot of stories from the family that nobody knew before
Yes.
we wrote the book because the family kept it because they were threatened by the authorities in the 1960s after the escape because they knew they were certain that the family was hiding information. And of course the family says we don't know anything when in fact they actually did.
Yeah, we've always known where they were at. Just we couldn't tell, because we were threatened with going to jail ourselves. So all of my aunts and uncles, they were, and my grandmother and grandfather, they were told, if we find out you know anything about this, if you, definitely if you participated or hid them, you will go to jail yourself. I mean, that's in the FBI files where they threatened every one of us. And my mom, I was 12 years old the last time I remember. I was at home with my mom when a U.S. Marshal showed up and questioned my mom. And she said, even if I knew where they were at, I wouldn't tell you.
And you're 12. Are you 12 years old?
So I was your same age. I was your age when my grandmother died. And their moms. And so I went to her funeral, and supposedly they were there at that time dressed as women. That is a true story.
Right, because they knew they couldn't contact the family. So that was their way of paying respect to their mother, of kind of being in the background. And then as soon as the service was over, they were gone. They disappeared, vanished. But yeah, and there's many, many stories that because most likely they're both dead because they'd be in their 90s. And so now they can tell the story and say who they actually were. Because these books, they're well researched and they tell an interesting story, but they don't know the brothers because they didn't grow up with them.
All of these stories end at the water. And this book takes you past that. So, very interesting.
Cool.
And who we're going to make it out
You got
to?
another question?
What? What were they in for?
Bank robbery.
Yeah.
So those two brothers, John and Clarence, there was actually a third brother named Alfred. He was the older one of the three, and they robbed a bank in Columbia, Alabama. And they almost got away with it until, John messed up and his girlfriend he was dating at the time revealed where they were at. And the FBI came and got them in Ohio. They wound up, getting charged federal and state. They went to other prisons where they tried to escape, and ultimately they wound up here.
Yeah. But they used a toy gun, though.
Toy gun.
Yeah, Alcatraz was not their first escape. They escaped many times over the years.
Clarence had probably escaped at least 10 prisons before. In fact, when he got caught, he was already on the run from another prison. He'd been out for 5 years. And that's the reason why he got more time than John did, because he had to make up. And also the other brother. Both of them were already previous escape prisoners when they got caught.
So, who is this going to be for? And what is your
What's
name?
your name?
Spencer.
Spencer. Spencer.
Are you on Facebook? No, you don't have any Facebook account? Okay. I was going to say, once you read it, we have a Facebook account called Alcatraz Escape.
And the podcast,
And
which
go
is
out and let me know what you think of the book.
Yeah. All right.
Thank you
Enjoy
so much.
it.
I hope you
Enjoy.
it.
All right.
Meeting you.
it's pretty good for someone who didn't want to be in the podcast, huh?
He did do good after
We
they
just
kind of warm up a little
slowly
bit.
drain
All you
them.
have to do is just ask a question, and then you just start, this isn't so bad.
Yeah.
Come on, you want to be on the podcast?
No
Spanish.
Espanol, no Espanol.
No.
But do you have a question?
Yes, I need only
Oh,
Spanish, very little English.
Yeah.
I need read. But
You want to give?
yes,
Okay.
but I don't understand English.
Well, the checkers are there. They can probably help you.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're
I'm
welcome.
sure they speak
Thank you.
Spanish.
Yeah,
over
I'm
there.
sure they can have bilingual
Yeah.
people there. Yeah, sometimes people try to give us things to.
I know. I know.
Can you check me out here?
Yeah.
please?
Exactly.
Like we work here.
You do. Yeah.
Yeah, we actually do right now.
The cashier always
Sort of.
has like cameras and mics around.
I
it.
I got a
telling-
pocket full of money that they've been giving.
I keep
me.
telling people when they try to hand me money, don't give me money. I'm related to bank robbers.
That's right. That's right. You're born thief.
It's in the blood.
Just in the blood.
Did you ever have those kind of tendencies growing up? Did you any of the DNA seek through you? Were you a rebel?
No comment.
Okay.
On the advice of your lawyer.
On the
I
advice
choose
of my-
not to
I
answer
plead
this
the
time.
fifth.
Probably a good idea. Probably a good
I plead
idea.
the fifth.
Yeah. But did you have that? Well, I can tell you have that adventurous spirit. I mean, you've done a lot of, you're pretty, you
will
do
say-
triathlons and you're.
I feel like
And based upon the
sometimes-
conversation I had with your wife, it sounded like when you were younger.
I will say I feel like that my uncles were very adventurous type individuals.
Mm-hmm.
If they were alive today, and they had gone the straight and narrow way, and they were my age, I can see them doing the same kind of things that I do, being swimming this bay, doing things that are adventurous type, challenging yourself, because they were kind of like that. I mean, even when they were young, there's a story that my mom told me about Clarence entering a swimming contest, swimming a mile across Lake Waimama, where they were very close, lived close to, and winning a ribbon. So, I mean, he was a fast swimmer. And so, yeah, I could see them, I could see me picking up that same type.
Well, wasn't
No.
John just on his heels? Like it was a close
John
second?
was very close to him, but
Yeah.
Clarence was actually a better swimmer than John was.
Yeah,
From
no,
what we were told.
Yeah, I mean they were both studs. I mean they were like I remember seeing pictures of them when they were younger. They're very very athletic.
He was in good shape. Yeah.
They're
he
both
was
very athletic.
that photo of showing his back, what it is.
Yeah.
I mean, he even looks like a swimmer.
I know.
Yeah.
They're
Actually,
built like
kind of looks like a
swimmers.
bodybuilder in the back a little bit.
Yeah.
He's got that V, that V shape.
Yeah.
Well, one of the things I was just wondering was because obviously you have John and Clarence and Alfred. They were the infamous thieves / robbers. Was there anybody else in the family that had their trouble with the law? Did they sort of tangle with things, or were they more on the straight and narrow?
I heard my Uncle Man one time say that if it had not been that he got married, he would have probably been in with the group. I mean, there were three brothers. It was Alfred, John, and Clarence. And Uncle Man said that his wife is what saved him from being a part of that group, because it really was all four of them at one time. I don't believe Uncle Man ever got in trouble and got actually sent to a prison. In fact, I know he didn't. But he would have been a part of it at some point in time if he had not got married, settled down, and said, I need to do it the right way.
So no one else in the family would steal things or break into things. So that
not
never happened.
Not that we know of.
No stories were ever shared.
No stories were ever shared
them.
about that. No.
So I just find it interesting that you have 14 kids. You have 3 of them that are on a certain path, and the other 11 are like, we're not going to be a part of that.
Listen.
I know Robert was kind of in the, kind of wavering a bit there for a while. But
it happens, in every family. Everybody has a black sheep.
It does.
Yeah.
Well, and I almost kind of think from stories I've heard and what we read in one of the news articles when they were being sentenced, I believe Alfred was probably the gang leader at one time, and he drew his younger brothers into this.
He seemed like it.
Yes.
He seemed, based upon, the relationship, I mean, they really kind of looked up to Alfred.
Yes.
When he was the older brother.
He was the older brother, and he was also the one who had the idea about robbing the bank.
The one on top's better.
There you go.
I know.
Start stealing them.
I was on the halfway of that.
Oh, okay.
And I left it in the box.
I got you.
Okay.
I got you.
Still here.
Nice to see you guys.
Nice to see you too.
There you go.
I was just directing that the other one just end at certain point, but that wouldn't give you the whole truth.
But we were saying that it was his idea to go to Alabama.
Exactly.
And because he spent time there in the summers.
Exactly.
Right.
He knew the area, and it's like we can go
so
there.
He's,
and
he's responsible for all that. So and he hatched the plan.
And John had to be talked into it. He didn't want to do it.
Yeah, John really didn't want a part of the bank robbery.
Yeah, it's a big commitment. Is that okay? Okay.
Yeah, I mean, John didn't want any part of it, and they had to convince him. Clarence was one of those guys that you could pretty much talk into anything.
He seemed like it. Yeah, he's like, I'm in.
Like, oh yeah, I'm in. I'm down with it. But then
that's
John
what's great about your book. You kind of explain their personalities that way,
right?
And that's why Cindy and I fell in love with the book, because you really did. You spent a lot of time, for lack of a better term, developing their characters.
Right.
So it's like by the time they're, whatever they're doing, you're just like, wow, I'm interesting. It's like I said before, it has that very same kind of character feel when you watch the movie Cool Hand Luke. Mm-hmm. I'm dating myself or anybody, but if you want to see what a type of character that was, I mean, the two characters here you got Cool Hand Luke and you got Steve McQueen from The Great Escape.
Right.
Those two types of characters, I visualized that your uncles were.
Yes.
Just kind of like likable, not bad guys, but when they had something in their a goal in mind,
right,
which was like, you're not going to confine me, I'm going to figure this out, they would do it.
Yes.
Yeah, and if they get caught, they're like, oh yeah, they're not resisting it. You caught me. It's like, all right.
We'll do our time.
Exactly. We'll try again.
Yeah.
Right.
So
it's just a setback, and we'll.
Exactly. Exactly. So I think I'm going to try to replace this battery because it's getting low.
Your name?
John?
Huh? Your name is John? So that was one of my uncle's name is John. How about that? You have the same name.
What do I say?
Well, did you go?
So my uncles are John and Clarence England. They're the ones who escaped.
Okay.
So they're the ones you just listened to when you went through this. Did you see the cells they were in?
Oh yeah.
So what's your question?
What was it like?
In prison?
Yes.
Oh, this was probably actually a better prison than most because you had your own cell. You didn't have to room with someone else. The food was actually very good, but you were still in prison. And those walls to me, I would feel like it would close in on me, and that would probably be one of the reasons I'd want to leave.
Okay.
How did you do the baseball? We saw the home plate, but you hit the ball, it would go out of the park. I don't understand how it worked.
I believe they actually had home plate backed up against the wall.
Gotcha.
Yeah, so when they hit it, it would go up.
It would go into the yard.
Yeah, go into the yard.
Gotcha.
Yeah, because there are photographs of the actual field when they were playing with people playing on it. Thank you.
All right. No problem. Do you have a question?
You have a question? Here you go.
What's your question?
How was time in Alcatraz?
How was time in Alcatraz?
Yeah.
You want to answer that one?
Well, think of it this way. When you went on the tour, did you go into the cell that you can actually go into?
Yeah.
What did it feel like when you were in there?
I felt bad. It was bad.
Did you feel kind of like it was very small, like you were in a closet?
Yeah.
Well, think about living there every day for years and years and years doing that. Is like Ken said, the one nice thing about Alcatraz was you had your own cell to yourself, where if you went in another federal prison, you had a cellmate.
Mm-hmm.
Well, what if your cellmate didn't like you very much? You're in the same cell and the door is locked. You can't get out.
Yeah.
So some inmates actually wanted to come here because of that, and they also had very good food that the guards actually ate. They ate the same food, and you can eat as much as you wanted, as long as you finish what's on your plate. So if you ate, you had to finish what's on the plate, and then you go back for seconds if you wanted to. And it was high quality food, but you're still a prisoner. And so you had to do everything that the guards told you every single day. You had to get out of your cell, you had to make sure your shirt was buttoned, you had to be clean shaven, you had to have your sleeves rolled down, you couldn't roll up your sleeves, you couldn't talk. And then they'd march you down the steps and they'd march you into the kitchen area, and then you got counted. And then they'd march you back to the cells again and you got counted. And then you would go down to the industries building and you would do your, some of the inmates could do
wash
work.
clothes.
And you got counted. Everywhere you went, you got counted. And you couldn't say anything, you couldn't talk. And you can only go into the exercise yards on the weekends.
Yeah.
During the rest of the time, you're either working or you're in your cell or you're a little bit in the kitchen area. And they would tell you every day what you had to do and when you had to do it. You couldn't do anything on your own. Do you think, would you want to live that way?
No.
No, I wouldn't want that either.
So I got a question for you. Do you believe they made it?
Huh?
Do you believe that do you believe these two men made it?
That they
off the
escaped?
island?
Do you think they escaped?
Or do you think they drowned?
I think they drowned.
You think they drowned?
Yeah.
What if I show you a picture of them after the escape? In the book, man, let me show you a picture of it.
It's there. It's there. 340.
340.
340. 340.
Even now I can't even remember it. Look, that's a picture of them in Brazil in 1975.
And they escaped
So
in
now do you still believe they
1962.
drowned?
Yeah. I don't know.
So that's John right there, and that is Clarence.
Oh. Yeah, it's amazing.
So they actually did make it,
Yeah.
and they got married, they had children, and they lived out their lives in Brazil. So yes, they actually did make it. All three of them, even Frank Morris went with them.
It's nice. Thank you.
You're welcome. Good question.
You have any questions for us?
You just disproved another
Oh, we got
skeptic.
somebody who wants a book signed.
Yes.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and I do have a question.
Okay.
Should I hear?
Yeah, right there.
So what's your name?
Daniela.
No.
Daniela?
Yes.
Danielle. Okay.
Do you truly believe that those in the picture, because we saw the short documental, are your uncles?
So when we showed the photograph, we had a U.S. Marshal,
Okay.
an FBI agent,
Yes.
and we've had 5 different independent facial recognition people, including the last one in 2022 was like the leading in the country,
Okay.
and they all came back with a 99.7% match.
Oh,
so what do
I
you
didn't.
think?
Data is data, right?
And
right.
we actually have a more recent photo of John in 2016 and it even came back even closer. But we haven't shared that one out yet, so it's
Because
going
we
to
found
come
it after
later
we did
on.
the book, then we have this photograph.
Yeah.
There's a person that is going to hopefully lead us to the family in Brazil.
And then maybe even
That
some
would be
DNA
awesome.
coming.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because we know everybody wants DNA, and we're pursuing DNA.
That would be great, right?
Yeah.
Amazing. Thank you so much.
You're more than welcome. And so you want your book made out too?
Yes.
Daniela.
Daniela and Luis.
Oh,
both-
Daniel and
yeah.
Luis. Okay. Do you have any questions for us?
No, more than a question, it's impressive. Being here in San Francisco, I think it depends really on how was the weather that day. Cause I was the first day.
Well, yeah. So
like,
that night it was actually very calm. It was a little foggy, from what we know from the accounts. There was a current, three, maybe
4 miles.
2 to 3 knots.
Yeah.
You know, but they never really even got in the water. They had a raft. They had a boat waiting for them halfway in between here and the mainland. And that boat took them to an airport, and their best friend flew them out of the country into Mexico, and then eventually into Brazil.
Wow, incredible.
Nice.
Thank you very much.
You're
I'm
more than
really
welcome. I'm glad you're
Welcome. Where are you guys from?
From Mexico City.
Mexico.
Fantastic.
Okay.
Welcome.
Well, that's where they actually went
Yeah,
to begin with.
It's cooler than Brazil. No, sir.
Yeah, when they got flown out, they were in Half Moon Bay, and the pilot flew them down just outside of Mexico City.
Yeah.
And there was a farm somewhere around there that we believe was the farm for Mickey Cohen, who was a mobster. Well, let me ask you this question: are there mobsters or drug people that have farms in Mexico today?
Of course, yeah.
Of course, and airports and everything.
And do they have their own? And a lot of times, do they have their own runways for small
Yes,
planes?
yes.
So they land at the farm, get the drugs, put them on the plane, and then they take
And they
off.
go, yeah, nobody knows. Yeah.
Okay.
Well, they did that back in 1950 something too.
Yeah, and
It
so
was
in the
still going on.
yeah, and so Mickey Cohen in the 1950s we knew he had a farm outside of Mexico City, and we think that's where the brothers stayed, and they would have like marijuana and other drugs there. Wow. So
Yeah, they were doing some bad stuff. You know,
Yeah.
growing marijuana. Back then, that was bad, but you know.
now it's medicine.
Yeah, now it's
No,
medicine.
it's of course.
Now it's on every corner.
Medicinal.
Thank you so much.
Take care. Thank you.
Nice to meet you too.
Hello. Do you have any questions for us?
I was just listening to you guys tell me that.
Okay, where are you from?
Fresno.
Fresno.
Okay.
So what brought you up to San Francisco?
Just like a family trip.
Okay.
A fan? Okay. No questions,
Are you? Is this your family?
Yeah.
Do you have any questions for us? Anything you want to know?
Family secrets. It's your time to ask a family member secrets.
Yeah, because Ken is the nephew of John and Clarence, so
Yeah.
he's telling family stories.
Any personal thing you want to know about them?
Is this book for you?
Yeah.
And what is your name?
Cody.
Cody.
K-O-D-Y or C-O-D-Y?
Yeah, C-O-D-Y.
So what do you think? Do you think they made it though? I know you heard me tell him, show you the picture, but did you ever think they didn't make it?
When I heard like they when they got out and they had like a boat and all that, but they didn't find like the body, and I was like they might have like drowned or something. But when I heard there was another one where they found group bodies just floating,
Right.
I'm like they probably did make it.
Yeah, you would think of 3 men, they would have at least found one, right?
Yeah.
You know, I mean, if they all 3 drowned, how do you all 3 just disappear? So,
Yeah.
Well, one
I
of the
totally
things
agree
that you
with
may not know is
Thank you.
they did find the raft on Angel Island, and it was still inflated. And when the guards found it after the escape, they tied the raft to the boat, and then they towed it back to Alcatraz. And then it was examined by the FBI and the prison officials and the guards. They're looking at it, checking it out. And they also found they also had life vests that they had made besides the raft. And they found a couple of them, one of them floating in the water. They found another one on a beach. And they were still workable. They still could inflate and hold air. So if you somehow fell in the water, you still have a life vest, and it was the kind that you put around your neck so your head stays above the water. They designed it from reading a magazine that Frank Morris had in his cell to help him design these, and they made them out of raincoats. That's how ingenious these guys were.
They were very smart.
So if they fell in the water, they wouldn't have drowned because of the life vest that still worked. And the raft still worked. It was still fully inflated. It didn't leak, and it didn't fall apart.
But then the raft disappeared.
And then the next
the
day it
FBI.
was gone. It disappeared and it was never seen again. And in the FBI report, there's no mention of the raft at all, and yet it was found. So why is it not in the FBI report?
Hey, make sure you go out and check out our podcast so you can see yourself. And we go into even more detail on the podcast of each of the chapters.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, you can find it from there if you Google us, but you can also
Partners.
look up
It's called Partners in True Crime.
Partners in True Crime.
Right.
It's on YouTube and it's on everything.
You were talking about that 99.7%, right? Facial recognition.
Yes.
Have you, or your, where's this recording to?
Oh,
right here.
Yeah.
Okay. Have you or your family been told by the feds, U.S. Marshal, FBI, whatever, that yeah, but they just won't say it?
Yes.
I'll make it public.
Yes. So when we first had the photograph examined, we didn't hire the U.S. Marshals did it.
Okay.
So they took the photograph and they went out and hired one of the he was a police officer that was teaching at their academy at the time that they took it. And so they had him. He was solving cold cases for them and finding missing people. So they used him, and then they also used an FBI agent.
Yeah.
And they examined the photograph. It was legit. They did facial recognition, and then they gave it back to us. And they even told us, yes, that's them. And so then we take it, and other companies came to us and said, can we do something with the photograph? Can we do a 3D rendering of it? So we had one company do a 3D rendering of it. And then when we did a show in 2022, they hired at that time the leading AI technology type company.
Oh, yeah.
To the same technology that works in your iPhones today, or is used by the TSA. They used that same technology, and it came back so close. It blew them away. They were like, yes, this is definitely
Because
them.
publicly they're still saying no, right?
Well, I think we're changing minds even out here.
But that's why I asked.
Yes.
Personally, have they told you? Yes,
on the
because publicly they're
podcast,
still
we have a
saying no.
former U.S. Marshal on the show. He's been on twice.
Yeah.
And he was actually in charge of the Alcatraz investigation when he was an active U.S. Marshal.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And so, Ken and him have become kind of friends.
Yeah.
And in 2015, he did a show with a documentary on the History Channel about the photograph and his uncles. And when he saw the photograph, you can see on his face that he was blown away. And he even said, this is the first real evidence of the escape since 1962, 50 years kind of thing. Well, since then, he's kind of changed his tune. And so when he's been on our podcast, now he's really of the opinion that they drowned in the bay. They didn't make it out.
Yeah.
So
But we have him on tape saying otherwise.
So that's kind of the official position. They didn't make it.
Yeah.
Thank
All
you
right.
so much.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you for coming.
Here, hold on.
Go check it.
Oh, we got somebody. Book sign. Okay. So, and what's your name? Calvin.
Calvin.
Okay.
All right.
You live here?
I don't. I'm from New Hampshire.
Oh, New Hampshire. Okay.
Do you have any questions for these guys?
If you could ask anything, any question about a family member.
Or the escape. Or
the
Alcatraz.
escape.
I mean, I don't really know. I haven't really heard much about it until today.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, I knew about it.
Did you ever see the movie?
I haven't. No,
Okay.
my dad was just telling me about it. So.
Well, wait until our remake of the movie comes out. It'll be better.
Okay.
Or more accurate, I should say.
We'll tell you the truth.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so
All right.
much.
Have a good one.
You
Bye
too.
bye. Interesting.
Starbucks bag. What'd you do with it?
It's behind me.
It was stolen.
You're around thieves. You're in a prison.
This is a prison.
Or wannabe.
They have bars on the window.
They're wannabe.
I just don't know.
Yeah.
Have this disappeared.
Needed some buttery baked goods.
It is buttery baked goods.
What? I can't hear you.
Cobbler.
Oh, she wants to know if you're hungry. Oh, cobbler.
Oh, no, I'm fine. Thank you.
Oh, now I'm getting the word.
I will have some cobbler later, though.
Yeah,
I was
definitely
promised
brought
some
the
cobbler.
Amazing.
I brought
That's
the
right.
beer. I smuggled in some beer here.
Oh, you did?
No, I'm just joking.
I don't know if you're joking.
See,
So
that-
you can't really trust an
that is
England.
one way they could turn this place. If they turn like at nighttime, they turn it into a nightclub.
Nightclub.
That could, you could actually make money by turning it into a casino.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Or just a nightclub. You can do
A
like
nightclub,
yeah.
Well, you got that area where they used to have the family housing. That area is just a flat
just-
top now.
No, just
No,
in-
I'd have
in-
cells.
Yeah, in D
Open the
block.
cells up.
All right,
D
have
block.
little
Just do
disco
that.
balls hanging from the.
Yeah, do that, and then you have the yard. You can
Dancing.
use the yard for a band.
Sure. Yeah.
There you go. Have a rave on the Rock.
Rave on the Rock.
There you go. I just throw that out to you, Parks Department. You're making $60 million a year just doing this. You add another 10, right
Now,
there.
here's an interesting question. I wonder if anyone's ever got married on Alcatraz.
I would think
Probably.
so. I'm sure they've set that up.
It says over there, the bride, Alcatraz bride. You see it? What's that all about?
Oh, I see it now. Yeah, maybe they did.
Here, I'm gonna go look at it. Hold on.
Maybe that's something that that they used
She
to
did?
do here. You could have a wedding here,
Oh my God.
Well, they used to have the
and you could
chapel.
honeymoon in one of the cells.
They
Oh
did have
my
a chapel
God.
here, so.
Or in the catacomb, right?
Yeah.
The catacombs.
Yeah, I don't think
If
that.
you
would
wanted
be-
privacy.
Yeah, just
Yeah,
stay.
no one's going down there.
Did she get married here?
Well, here, I'll read you what this is. It says, my name is Ann Burroughs Ebb, and during the 1950s I spent almost 3 years in Alcatraz, not as an inmate, but as a teenager whose father was a guard at the prison. 15-year-old Ann Burroughs was excited when she found out that her family would be moving to California's Alcatraz Island. Wow. She had visions of a sunny beaches and warm breezes, a place much different from her Kansas City, Missouri hometown. Later, romance blossomed with a young man from San Francisco when the couple was married on the island.
On
So
the
there you
island.
go.
Okay, so there
A
have been
chapter
weddings.
and a family's personal history became the subject of international news stories. This snapshot of moment in time is the infamous island as a home, not a prison, of the coming of age on the Rock. So yeah,
Wow.
there you go.
I even have a picture of her.
Yep, right there.
So yes, there have been people married on
At
the
least
island.
one.
What made you ask that question?
I don't know. It just like
And there's the book, and it's right there.
well, when you started talking about turning into disco, and I started
Right.
thinking, okay,
Well,
what other events could you have here?
events,
A wedding
weddings.
event,
True.
The first thing that popped in my mind was, has anybody ever married on here?
Look at that.
undoubtedly so. Things you learn on this podcast.
Seriously.
About Alcatraz.
Somebody was
Alcatraz.
married here once.
There's beautiful gardens here. There's beautiful birds with little speckles on them.
Right, and somebody got nailed this morning by one of the birds.
It's good luck.
Yes.
Yeah, I did.
It's good luck.
I got shot on.
It's good luck.
Yeah, it was pretty funny because we were walking up with some of the staff members because they came in the same time, and the one of the staff members got nailed
Got
with
hit.
a significant
Oh,
one.
we got someone coming. Wants to ask a question.
All right. Hey,
Come
You got a
on,
question?
come on.
Here you go.
All right.
What's the craziest story you heard from your family about your uncle?
Oh my gosh. Okay.
How much time do you have?
I have a lot, I think.
So the craziest thing, let's see. I would probably say, gosh, there's so many of them. So as young kids,
Yeah.
they would skip school nonstop. I mean, I believe probably there was a newspaper article on them where one of their teachers said they would rather go swimming than they would to come to school.
I
So
feel the
they
same
would
way.
leave. They would leave to go to school, and
Yeah.
they would divert to this little area that they would swim.
Mhm.
So getting into trouble, they would go and break into the school, the same school they didn't want to go to.
Yeah.
And they would steal stuff out of the school
I'll
to
tell you
sell
a
it.
crazy story. So they get arrested for robbing a bank. That's what ultimately gets them to Alcatraz. But they were not sent to Alcatraz. John was sent to Lewisburg, and Clarence was sent to Leavenworth.
Okay.
So John tries to escape from Lewisburg, gets found out, and he gets sent to Leavenworth with Clarence. So they're together. Well, they had a bakery at the Leavenworth prison, and what they used to do was they would bake bread and other goods
Mhm.
there, and some of them they used in Leavenworth prison, but others were used in the local jails and prisons. They would ship them out, and they had these big bread containers that they would wheel out to trucks, and then the trucks would go to the different places to deliver the bread.
Yeah.
Well, John and Clarence worked in the bakery, And so what they did was one night they tried to escape. They cut a hole on the top of the bin that held the bread, and Clarence got into the bin, and they were going to wheel him out onto the truck.
That's crazy.
I know.
Well,
Isn't that
what
crazy?
they forgot one thing though.
Yeah.
And that Clarence probably weighed about 160, 170 pounds.
Yeah.
And when you're wheeling bread's not that heavy,
No.
right? So you're wheeling this thing, and it's really heavy. And of course, there's the top it has been cut off, but it's been cut out so we can get
Yeah.
inside it. Well, they realized pretty quickly what was going on. He gets caught, and
Yeah.
you know they foil this escape. And John wasn't caught, but they knew he was a part of it.
Yeah.
And so because of that, that's what got him to Alcatraz, because
Gotcha.
he tried to get on the truck, and it didn't make it.
That's cool. I have one other question if you have
Okay.
time. How does it feel being here where your uncle was?
You know, it's surreal. You know, to
Yeah.
think that I had relatives here. Wasn't here that long. You know,
No. Yeah.
They decided they didn't want to stay here after they got
Right.
here. But yeah, it's kind of crazy that we have a connection to this place. You know,
Yeah.
and yeah, it's really kind of eerie going and looking in the cells that
Yeah.
my uncles used to sleep in every night.
Yeah.
You know what they did and how they crossed the bay. That's one of the reasons why I did the Escape from Alcatraz
Mhm.
triathlon in 2016. I wanted to know what it was like to get into the water. You know,
Okay.
so that just that feeling of what they kind of probably felt
Yeah.
when they tried to break out. So
Well,
That's
and,
cool.
And another thing, and we share this story with other people, that when the escape happened, the first people that they went to, the authorities, the FBI went to, because the FBI was in charge of the case as soon as it became known that they broke out, because it was a federal issue, was they immediately go to his family and they start accusing them of participating in the escape and knowing where they are and keeping information. And so for years and years and years, they were treated like criminals,
Mhm.
even though
Yeah.
they had nothing directly to do with it. Although there was
that they knew about it.
that they knew it.
Right.
Although there was a brother, because there were 14 children. That, you know, John and Clarence had they had siblings.
Right.
And there was one other brother that had direct information that he never told the authorities about. But the rest of the
Wow.
family, it was less known. They were not involved in it.
Gotcha.
Yeah,
But-
he tried to shield them from any kind of knowledge because of the threats that came from the FBI.
Yeah.
Especially to my grandmother and grandfather. You know, yeah, he didn't want to see them go to prison,
No,
and he didn't
of
want to see
course.
any of his other siblings go because
Yeah.
they were so poor. None of them could afford to purchase or hire a lawyer, so they would have been pretty much railroaded into prison, just kind of like what John and Clarence did.
So
Right.
the family, outside the family, they didn't talk about it a lot, because it was, you have uncles who are bank robbers who are in prison, and then they escape. Maybe they're dead, maybe they're alive. Some of them, they're not sure, and they're being accused by the authorities of participating in this. This went on for years,
Right.
years and years, and
Yeah.
so it was not a thing that was sort of a badge of honor for the family for a long time. But later, it's when you sort of become sort of a folk hero kind of a thing.
Yeah.
Have you ever seen the Clint Eastwood movie?
No.
It came out in the late.
It's good, but it's
It's not exactly accurate, but it gives you the flavor of what happened.
Gotcha.
Because it's a reenactment. He plays Frank Morris, the third escapee, and John and Clarence are also in it. They played lesser roles in the story.
Okay.
wait for the movie. We're going to do it a lot better.
Really? Okay, I will. Well, I heard you are from Colorado Springs.
No, I'm not. I'm from Panama City Beach, Florida.
Are you from Colorado Springs?
I'm actually live in San Jose.
Oh, I heard somebody was from Colorado Springs, and that's
that
where
was,
we're from.
That was, I think, another visit.
Yeah.
It was
Oh,
a
okay.
visit
I
that
was gonna say we're
Colorado.
from.
No, I
Colorado.
actually live not too far from where they grew up at.
That's cool.
Yep.
That's cool. Yeah, we have our own Alcatraz out there right now. So, yeah. Do you know anything about like the difference between here and the Supermax in Canyon City?
Well, they say that's inescapable also, right?
Yeah, well.
But I would never say never.
Right.
Well, there have been some recent escape from prison stories. There was
Yeah.
actually another one that just happened.
Yeah, no one's getting out of that prison.
No,
Yeah,
I know.
I mean, they
especially
said no
with El
one would
Chapo
get
there.
out of here either. But
Never say never.
never say never.
I'm telling you, I've seen that person. No one's getting out.
What are you? How are you?
We do the podcast
We
Okay.
host a podcast.
with
for
these
that.
guys. So
That's cool.
So if you want to learn more about it, you're going to be on that podcast.
Oh, cool.
You're
It's
right.
called Partners in True Crime.
I've heard it.
That's us.
That's y'all.
Can I have a picture with you guys?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
Yes,
Hey,
absolutely.
you got a camera? I'll take it here.
Should have gotten a sign. Should have brought a sign.
Not at all.
Yeah, once you go around, you can stand behind us.